Shy Knitting Podcast. My name is Rachel, I am your host, and this channel is my chatty outlet to talk all things knitting and for you guys to watch as this craft slowly consumes my entire personality. Today is Thursday, July 28th, and I'm home alone, and it's quiet outside. There are no neighbors in any yards who are looking up at me, and there's no construction noises, and I figured I'm not going to get a chance like this again to record with like somewhat okay settings. There's light, so I'm really happy to have this chance to sit down, catch up with you guys on my summer knitting, and also celebrate my 1-year podcast anniversary. So on July 21st, 2021, I uploaded my first video to this channel, which was my first ever podcast episode, which is no longer visible. I have it hidden because it was really bad. The sound quality sucked, and I was really nervous, and I spent a lot of time staring down at my projects instead of the camera, so you guys had a great view of the top of my head. So that's not ideal. And I don't like that after clicking on a recent video, people usually go back to the first video, and then I don't want that to be the image that they have of me as the next thing, and so it's I'm a little self-conscious about it, but you can't see it. But that was my first episode. It was released on July 21st. I have now officially been doing this for a whole year, which is really wacky to me, but I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that and to acknowledge how much I've enjoyed doing this for the past year. I'm surprised that it's been as consistent a part of my life as it has been, and I've benefited so much from it. Like I said a million times, but I've really made like genuine friends as a result of this, and I think it's improved my confidence. I've gained so much crafting knowledge from you guys in the comments, so many podcast and pattern and yarn recommendations, and so this is the anniversary episode, the first anniversary episode, which will be not in any way different from any other episode except for the fact that I just talked about it for a little bit just now. So beyond that, I think we should just get right on into it and talk about the knitting. So I finished 2 pairs of socks since we last spoke that I cannot show you because I finished them about 3 days since the last time I recorded a podcast episode, and immediately hopped on a train to Montreal for my friend's 25th birthday and gave her those 2 pairs of socks. I would have taken photos before I did that, but I was in such a rush because the last sock I finished literally 2.5 hours before I left for the train, and the other was still on my blocking mats, and I actually had to pack them when they were still a little bit damp. So sorry about that. That's a bad podcasting moment. However, I don't feel absolutely awful about not having them to show you guys because I had finished one sock from both pairs in the last video in the whips section, and so I feel like you guys still got the payoff of seeing what those socks looked like as a final finished object, just one sock each. And those 2 socks were the Riverbed sock by Joji Locatelli from the 52 Weeks of Socks book, which by Lina magazine, which I always want to pronounce as laine, like the French pronunciation, because apparently wool is the same word, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I always am this close to mispronouncing the name of that magazine. I knit a very heavily modified pair of Raw Honey Rose socks in Fiber Company Amble in the color Chalk Cliffs, and a little bit of leftover Emily C. Gillies Sock Club mini, a hand-dyed mini, that kind of look like peaches, which is fun because my friend is from Georgia. So 2 finished objects that I cannot show you but exist. You'll have to take my word for it or watch the last episode. My 3rd finished object, which I actually can show you, is on my body right now. So this is the Drinks on the Patio crop top by Shanna K. Salmon. I'm now going to stand up so you guys can get the full view. Here's the back. And I knit this top in a size small to fit my 34-inch/86-centimeter bust, and this took about 2 balls of Wool and the Gang Shiny Happy Cotton, maybe a little bit less, because I used I had one whole ball of this color, which is duck egg blue, and then I had a lot of scrap, but not in an easily identifiable quantity, of the mellow mauve, both from last year that I couldn't think of another project for. And I looked at the yarn estimates for this pattern, which I already was quite eager to knit, and figured I could get a whole top out of them, and thankfully I could. So what I did was, I don't think I modified this pattern at all, except for adding maybe an inch or two of length to the body, because at this point I've knit enough summer tops and summer crop tops for myself to know what length I want for the top to reach, the hem to reach the top of all my pants. It goes like this. I am happy. And so what I did was I cast on, like I literally just did my long tail cast on with the mellow mauve, cut that, and I knit in stockinette according to the pattern instructions up until I was about to run out of the duck egg blue. And then that is when I did the separation for the front and the back. So this is like literally the front back separation line. And then carried on with the mellow mauve, did the shaping, did the I-cord, and then that's how I made sure I had enough for this tank top. I left enough of the duck egg blue to do a contrast neckband in the blue to kind of tie it back so it didn't look like I ran out of yarn. I was hoping for an intentional type thing, but by the time I got to it and I started with the blue for the I-cord and I picked up the stitches and I started making it, it didn't look nice. It looked a little bit too cartoonish for me. I like that this is a kind of fun, modern, colorful, but not like, at least for me, colorful but not super statement-y vibe to the garment, and I think with the blue it would have been a bit much. And also I really like this top because it's a great, really casual top for just life in summer, but something that I really appreciate about it is that it's professional enough from the shoulders up to wear on my Zoom calls for work, because while, like, you guys know that it's cropped and fitted on the bust, which makes it a good, you know, going out top or whatever, my work camera cuts off right here, so all you see is the covered neckline and the wide straps, which is great for work calls in the summer in my unair-conditioned Ottawa apartment. So I very quickly realized it was an issue in my work from home wardrobe, where I had a lot of comfortable summer tops that felt totally fine to be working in or you know, appropriate to be going to the grocery store or doing whatever in, that suddenly felt very inappropriate on work calls because they had thin straps. So on the call, it looked like I was not really wearing much of anything in those tiny straps. And I know that nobody else cares, but nobody else on my work calls was wearing stuff like that. And so this is a great, really versatile top because I can wear it on really hot work from home days and not have to worry about changing really quickly into like my one t-shirt to feel appropriately covered in a professional setting and focused on my work, as opposed to feeling self-conscious. But then I've literally worn this to go get drinks on the patio with my friends, and I felt very fun and fresh and young. And my friends complimented me on it, to the point where one of my friends messaged me a few days ago, like a week after I saw her in this top, saying, "I can't stop thinking about it. Would you please send me the pattern? I think this might finally incentivize me to make the jump from crochet to knitting." And I was like, yeah. So overall, I think this pattern is a real winner, to the point where I have already bought yarn and very much, ignore that, spoiler, and very much plan to cast on a second one kind of immediately once I have cleared 2 of my whips. So I find this incredibly comfortable. It took me about 5, maybe 6, no, but I think it was 5 days of knitting, because it's an Aran weight cotton top. There's no sleeves. It's pretty short. It goes by so quickly, and I've been wearing it so much for work, for going out for drinks with my friends, for going to the grocery store, for going to the park. It's kind of perfect. It's so comfortable, and I'm very, very eager to try more of Shanna K. Salmon's patterns because this is just like chef's kiss as far as I'm concerned. I think it's amazing. It's a very size inclusive pattern. I checked. I have a bad tendency to only look at to see if my bust size is represented, and then to look at the letters, this in like the sizing in letters, and say, oh, this goes up to a 5XL, and not actually looking at the size range in terms of inches or centimeters, because my brain does not remember numbers well at all. I really struggle with patterns that are like sweater number X, sweater number 4. I really have a difficult time remembering things associated with numbers. I don't think I'm explaining this very well. But I'm like, okay, cool, that goes up to a 5XL, I'll remember that. But I don't always check to make sure that's actually an inclusive 5XL. Like, I'm not always sure if it goes up to a 60 or a 62-inch bust. But I checked, and this one actually seems like it's truly size inclusive. Of course, I cannot remember what the final bust measurement is on either side of that scale. But I remember seeing it and feeling relieved that I actually had done it properly this time. And I will make an effort in the future to confirm that things are size inclusive from an actual, like, physical bust measurement perspective, not just whatever arbitrary, like, size designation is put on a garment. I hope that was clear. But I'm a huge fan. Going to cast on another one very soon. I got this Lion brand Pima cotton. I got 2 balls of it in the color Stone from Knitomatic in Toronto, where I am currently, because my mother got me a gift card there for my birthday, and this was on sale as part of their summer sale, which is ongoing. However, I'm pretty sure their stock of Lion brand Pima cotton is pretty cleared out. It's 20% off. I think it's normally $7.50 or $8 a ball, and that means that a finished top is going to be, I think, with the sale, for me, about $15 Canadian, and that's a price that's really hard to beat in a natural fiber, especially since this is a really, really nice cotton. It feels so soft. Before, I would argue that the Wool in the Gang was one of, if not the softest cotton yarn I'd worked with. I think it might actually be this one. I also truly do love the Hobie Baby Cotton Organic. I'm not just saying that because they sponsored me. I wouldn't say it at this point if it wasn't true. The one that I knit my As Friends tank in, that I showed that I was wearing in my last episode, I've been living in that top. I love it so, so much. It's kind of become my go-to around the house, or so hot I don't want to think about existing or have anything on my skin top for being out and about on weekends, whereas this is my, like, okay, it's really, really hot, but I don't hate air right now, if that makes sense in terms of, like, heat. But it's been a Cotton Summer Knits speed run for me, and I have only more to go. Another thing is, okay, I'm wearing this with a bra so you guys can see my bra straps and how this works actually as I'm in movement with a bra, because I mean, I can like tuck them in and then pull it out so that the bra isn't visible, but I think that'll probably only hold for a few minutes, so I wanted to show you guys how that actually interacted with a bra in real time. So for people who are watching this who really prefer to wear tops with bras, you can kind of see how this works. I think it would be very easily modified to be a bit more bra friendly. Just, I would say, do one less round of decreases for the front, maybe 2, and then that would bring in this, and I think that would bring this bit a little bit wider on your shoulder. It wouldn't be as high up, and then just do that up for the same on the back. That would absolutely still give you good mobility and space for your arm and your shoulder to be accommodated while still covering a potential bra strap. Alternatively, just wear a racer back bra, because as you can see, this is a full coverage back. And so with a racer back, I think you would also be safe. But I really would like to recommend this pattern to you guys. I think that it works in a variety of yarns and a variety of price points. I love it so much. I really do. And I'm going to knit myself another one, and I hope to show it to you as a finished object in the next video, because you guys know how much I love gray. The one thing I will say, and this is a little bit of reflection on this, but just kind of, I'm currently working on a lot of cotton summer projects because I won't go into this too much because I talked about it at length in my knit and chat video that I posted a couple weeks ago, which was kind of on this subject of reflecting on what my wardrobe needs right now, which is summer tops, my 2022 Make 9 and how I've been doing on that, blah, 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 blah. But making a lot of summer tops in cotton because where I live in Canada, it gets very humid and very hot. In the summers, we have very cold winters and we have very hot summers, and it's not unusual for it to be around 30 degrees or the high 80s, low 90s Fahrenheit for my American friends. In the summer, it's so swampy. And I'm at a point in my life where all of a sudden a lot of my cotton tops or my just summer tops don't really work in my life anymore. / have disintegrated. Like they're just not wearable anymore. And so I've been frantically knitting more to replace them that are things that I've made myself, which I like because I like making things and it helps with slow fashion and sustainability, etc., etc. The one thing is, cotton is great for me in the summer. I can't really wear a lot of wool next to skin in 30 degrees. I wish I could. I am not yet strong enough. I hope with time I will gain that power, but it doesn't work right now, especially when it's so humid. So I've been knitting with a lot of cotton. Also, it's a little bit less expensive a lot of the time, which is nice too. But it's really heavy. I don't feel like this is heavy when it's on my body, and because, if I'm being honest, I usually wear this without a bra, I like that this is a thicker Aran weight yarn because it gives a little bit more coverage around the bust. It's a little bit thicker, so I feel a little bit more comfortable wearing it braless. And I like the breathability of cotton. I like that it feels like nothing on my skin, but it is just so like heavy when I'm working with it. It doesn't have that loftiness of animal fibers, and I mean, I don't really know what else to say. It's just kind of a heavy fiber, and that means that it like when I'm holding up the garment as I'm knitting it, it's kind of heavy. It's kind of fatiguing on my elbows and on my wrists, and so often I'm second guessing that the garment will actually work for me the whole time I'm knitting it because I'm just thinking like, this is so heavy. Am I going to want this on my skin when I'm knitting? And it just uses more yarn because, as we all know, yarn is sold by weight, and then you have to buy more. If it's a heavier fiber, there's less meterage per ball or per skein. So I've accidentally played yarn chicken a little bit, and I am noticing that in my summer garments, not to the point where for these tops, which are pretty minimal, they're fitted, they don't have sleeves, they're cropped. It's not too heavy that I'm uncomfortable wearing it. I find this very comfortable, but I'm tired. I'm getting very tired of knitting with all cotton, 100% cotton. As much as I love to wear it, especially since, as we all know, it doesn't have a ton of give, and I really feel it in my elbows as I'm sliding up stitches onto my needle, especially when I can't have my holding needle, the one that I'm knitting the stitches off of, be a thinner needle. I can't go down a size because I'm knitting back and forth, so they have to be the same size, so I'm purling with the same needle that I'm knitting with. I hope that made sense, but I'm finding it kind of fatiguing on my arms and on my wrists because it's heavy, because I have to work harder to slide the needles up, and because cotton does not really have that flexibility when you are actively working with it. And that's not a deal breaker, but I'm happy to have made the cotton garments that I have made, and I know that I'll be working with cotton in the future, 100% cotton in the future, but I'm looking forward to my 100% cotton projects coming to an end a little bit, and to get back into my beautiful wools. And also, as a result, I've been knitting quite a few socks because it is a nice break from thicker, heavier cotton projects. But those are my thoughts on working in 100% cotton. On that note, here is my first whip, which is a 100% cotton. And this is my Me Oh My tee by Park Williams of Park and Knit. I have finished the body. and I am working on one sleeve with the other one to go. And this is knit in Hobie Baby Cotton Organic Midi, which is their sport weight version of the same one that I've been waxing poetic about. And this is a really, really basic crew neck t-shirt pattern. You work from the bottom up, you join at the shoulders. I've already picked up and knit the neckline, and I've been working on a sleeve. I have gone between periods of really enjoying working on this and then really, really, really resenting it. I am really happy with how my current projects are turning out, but I'm tired of working on them, and I would like to be working on other things. And because it's stockinette and 100% cotton, tension issues show up a little bit more, and that really bugs me. Not enough that I'm gonna like do something about it, but as you can see here, all those little bits where my tension kind of sucked, I don't like that. I've tried different things to fix it, like working with different needle sizes on different needles, different sizes on different needles in order to combat my tension issues, and I have figured out that I actually purl more tightly than I knit, which makes sense for me as a Portuguese purler, but it's been a bit of a struggle to deal with that. I know that some of that will block out, but because it's cotton, not all of it will block out. That bugs me a little bit. I do, but the thing is that I love the way that this pattern looks. I love the way that it's been coming together. It's just such a perfect classic t-shirt, and it's a very affordable project. And it's written for 100% cotton, so I don't have to worry that substituting a plant yarn will mean that I'll end up with a very different finished object than the original, which is knit in wool. So I really appreciate that kind of peace of mind. I love this type of sleeve shaping. It's mostly done in short rows, which I have just finished. And it's a very like fitted, like a quick shoop for a cap sleeve, but not a poofy cap sleeve. It's a fitted classic t-shirt with a crew neck. I think it's quite well designed. And Park Williams knits very size inclusive garments, I think up to a 60 or 62 inch bust, including this top. And so I do recommend this pattern if you also want an easy, classic, all stockinette t-shirt. I think this fits really well so far. I'm excited to have this as a finished object and wear it in the next episode and be able to give you a more in-depth review of how I feel it wears and how it fits, because I haven't really modified anything in terms of the shaping or whatever, except for making it longer. However, I am having trouble mustering up enthusiasm for continuing to knit this because I'm just tired of a whole bunch of all cotton garments for myself. And I know that I needed those, and I'm the one who chose to knit a whole bunch of those in quick succession. But it just means that I'm just kind of like, yay, it's almost over and I'll have this, as opposed to, ooh, yeah, I can't wait to get back to knitting on my me oh my. Does that make sense? My other whip that's big, that's a garment, is the Riley tee by Rachel Kurihara. And I have made a lot of progress since you guys last saw it, because I finally started giving it my real attention as opposed to doing like 2 rows every couple nights. I've joined it to knit in the round and have been working on the body for a couple inches now. And I just knit the body until I ran out of yarn in the cake I was using, put the stitches on hold, and picked up for the collar and for the sleeves, because I enjoy doing that to make sure that I always have enough yarn for the sleeves and for the neck, and because I find it's a lot easier to choose a length and to know when to finish the body if the neckline and sleeves are done, because as you know, they kind of pull in the garment, and to get a better idea of what it's actually supposed to look like. And I really like finishing a knit on the body as opposed to on the sleeves. I don't know why, it's just a phase I'm in right now. I started with the collar, and as you can see, it's doing this weird like ripple-y thing. It's really poofy, and it's kind of forcing itself back and around. I think it's because I either knit, and it's a folded hem, folded collar. I think it's either because I should have sewed it down one row lower, or I knit the inside one row more than I should have. I'm currently leaving it because it's not like ruining my life, and in the hopes that it'll block out. A couple people, I posted about this on Instagram. A couple people had said maybe if you put some elastic in there, it'll cinch and it'll kind of eliminate the issue. We'll see. This is an 80% wool, 20% cotton blend, and so I have some more hopes that blocking will fit things, but it would be pretty easy to undo and sew down again if I needed to, because I just bound off and then sewed down, as opposed to picking up stitches and then binding off, which I've done in the past. I've been kind of reticent to sew things down because I'm really, really not neat with my hand stitching. And I just thought that it would be neater and easier if I like picked up the bottom, picked up a stitch, and then knit the collar down. And I'm finding that I know that having such a wonky collar isn't really helping my case, but I'm finding that I much prefer sewing. Like, I sewed this down as opposed to knitting it down, and I think it looks much better, and I'm quite happy with that, compared to this side where I picked it up and knit it down, and it doesn't look bad, but this was a million times faster. To me, it looks neater and was so much easier on my hands and on my wrists, and we're out here trying to avoid repetitive strain injuries. This is a really cool pattern because it has this fun twisted rib shoulder detail that goes down the sleeves as well. I don't know why I showed you on the work in progress sleeve, not the finished sleeve. And I imagine this will block out really nicely. And it's just a very fun detail on this garment, I think, which is knit in a drop shoulder construction. I'm really, really, really enjoying working with this yarn, and I've been enjoying this pattern. This is the Green Mountain Spinnery Cotton Comfort in the color Mint. And like I said, it's 20% cotton, 80% wool. It's been really fun to knit with. It's been super even. It's dry to the touch. Hasn't been too scratchy that I can't touch it in the summer. It has been a little bit prickly working on it, so it has been moving a little bit more slowly than the Mio Mai, for example. And I'm looking forward to wearing this in the office with the AC blaring with a nice smart pair of trousers. And yeah, I'm hoping to finish this sleeve tonight. I could have finished it last night, but I wanted to pick up and do the collar for the Mio Mai, and then it was so few rows of rib that I felt might as well just finish it and then pick up for the sleeve, because I find that sometimes I procrastinate picking up stitches and then a project doesn't get finished. But if the stitches are even like halfway picked up, I'll just keep going. So it's kind of like weaving in ends. I try and do it immediately, or else I don't know when it's going to get done. My goal is actually to finish the sleeves on this and weave in the ends tonight, because then this garment will be done. But then I'll finish this hopefully tomorrow, and then just knit in the round on the body until I run out of yarn. And then I'll have 2 new t-shirts. And then at that point, ideally by next episode, I will have total this, my As Friends tank, and then these 2, and then maybe even my second Drinks on the Patio crop. And that'll be 5 summer garments that I knit myself in one season, kind of towards the end of summer, but I've still been wearing the heck out of this in my As Friends, and solving my wardrobe issue that I was experiencing. So that's great. I'm really happy about that. But I'm trying to think of anything else to say about this. I am thinking this will be wonderful. This is also because of the wool, I imagine, going to be a fantastic transitional piece. I think it'll be really good for spring and also September and October. And in the past, I have been concerned about a wool t-shirt because that doesn't seem practical for my lifestyle and the places I spend time, because either it's cold out or there's heating indoors. But the air conditioning in the library and in my office is significantly stronger than I was anticipating. And so this kind of thing actually is quite practical for my life. Having that worry kind of settled means that I have a lot of enthusiasm for this project, and so that's really nice. I feel a little bit lower energy today. I don't know, I feel like I should have more to be saying about these things, but I guess I don't. Oh, I see this, but it's been 40 minutes. One last thing about this top that has nothing to do with really this top. I am so sick of drop shoulder constructions. Oh my goodness, I am so sick of them. I've knit so many drop shoulder patterns in a row, and it'll be, if I don't knit another drop shoulder pattern for like 5 years, that's fine with me. I'm just tired of them. They're not bad. I like the way they look. I'm the one who planned poorly, and I'm the one who knows I really prefer to have a variety of constructions and types of patterns on the needle so I don't get tired of anything. And I did a bad job anticipating that, and I just did a whole bunch of drop shoulder things at once, and like big projects, cardigan, sweater, top for my friend, this top, all drop shoulder, and I am tired of them. I'm tired of putting stitches on hold. I'm tired of picking up stitches. I'm tired of the million ends you have to weave in, which feels like an inefficient use of yarn for drop shoulder constructions as opposed to a top-down raglan or a top-down circular yoke. And as a result, I am very much looking forward to a good old raglan in my future soon. So that's just this is the end of my drop shoulder era, is what I'm saying. Other works in progress. I mentioned a few episodes back, I mentioned how the owner of Knit-O-Matic, Haley in Toronto, gave me a small amount of Senna's Garn Double Sunday to try because I was in there chatting away, as I normally do, making her listen to me talk about birds, and I noticed that they had Double Sunday, and we were talking about how I wasn't sure as a left-handed knitter if it would be a miserable knitting experience for me or not, because knitting with Senna's Garn Sisu yarn is just so not fun because I'm knitting against the twist, which means it's untwisting the whole time and it's super splitty and just a mess, and I had a bad time knitting with it, which is unfortunate because I have so much left, and also it's perfect for colorwork socks. And she said, in her infinite expertise, it probably had to do with the twist of the yarn being a Z twist, which is apparently preferable for socks, because for right-handed knitters, you're reinforcing that twist, so it adds durability, which is why Senna's Garn Sisu is a great option for right-handed knitters and god-awful for me. So she gave me a little bit of Double Sunday to swatch with and see how I felt about it, and I did that. Here it is. I didn't block it. It was literally, I did not pay attention to what needles I used. I might have even used 2 different needle sizes. I wasn't paying attention. It was just to get a feel for how it knits up, and I'm happy and also unhappy to tell you it's quite pleasant as a lefty. Doesn't have the same issue at all as I had with Sisu, which is pleasant because I can communicate this information to my fellow left-handed knitters who are maybe concerned after my many moons ago in this very same location Rachel versus Sisu rant. I'm unhappy about this because Senna's Garn Double Sunday is a pricey yarn that is very pretty and comes in some gorgeous colors. And I was very happy to have a reason to think it was completely off the table for me to use and spend my money on. If you were wondering, that is the Double Sunday update. Totally fine. Actually really nice to knit with as a lefty. And here it is, just for you. What else? Okay, I have a work in progress pair of socks. And this is, I have one finished sock and then, just a few rounds of the cuff of the second sock. Not much to write home about. You can barely even see it. Here you go. Little sock cuff. But the more interesting one is the real sock, which is the Patterns. It's a free pattern published by Patterns, and it is the slip knit sock, and comes in 3 sizes, and it's free. You can Google it, and I'll have it. Everything will be linked down below, so you guys can find it there too. I'm knitting this in Fleece Artist Organic Cottage Sock, which, as you can see, is an organic merino and nylon blend in the color Fire Opal. And I got this from Wabi Sabi in Ottawa. It's part of my birthday festivities last month. And cast on with these pretty quickly afterwards. I'm knitting, this is a 56 stitch sock on 2.5mm needles, because this is a bit of a thicker sock yarn than a lot of the other ones I've used, and I wanted an excuse to knit up a little bit of a squishier, like a cottage sock, 2.5 gauge one, and this one went by very quickly. I enjoyed it quite a bit because of the variegation and how I wasn't sure how that would knit up. I didn't do my standard 3x1 rib. I did a 3x1 slip stitch pattern because that's what the slip knit sock is, and it just kind of felt perfect. And I'm really happy with it. I think it showcases the colors really nicely. It fits really beautifully, and I really enjoyed how the variation in the colors showed up as I was knitting it. And I'm happy to have this pattern in my repertoire for vanilla socks, for gift socks, for myself and for others. I also like the 2x2 rib at the top. The only thing that's a little bit off about this is that because it has this multicolor situation, which looks like this on the bottom, and I chose to do a traditional heel flap and gusset, when I had all those extra stitches for the gusset decrease section, the pooling is pretty intense. So there's, at the front, it's just, you can see here, it's just orange and yellow. And then at the back, it is just blue and pink, which annoys me. I don't think anyone's gonna notice. Here you can see there where it turns from one to the other. And then on this side, the same. No one's gonna notice unless I point it out, but I notice, and that kind of bugs me. But I am curious to see with how I started in the repeat, if it's going to be the exact same with the orange and yellow on top and the blue and the pink on the bottom. But I finished this. This was my train knitting to Montreal, and which is not a long train ride from Ottawa at all. And I finished this pretty quickly, but I've barely made any progress on the second sock because I started another pair of socks that have kind of been my priority since, along with the 2 summer tops, because I've really wanted to finish those. And this guy will get some more attention from me very soon, because I'm actually going up to a cottage, not this weekend, but the one after that, and it would be really nice to have a good pair of cottage socks to wear. So that is my other whip. And finally, I have one more sock to show you. So if you watched my knit and chat, no pressure if you did not, you might remember that I said I have not done any test knits in 2022 because they're not totally my jam, and I didn't really plan on changing that. I said this, and then I posted it to the internet, and then I was added to an Instagram messaging group for the Maricia sock test knit that I had completely forgotten that I had applied to, by Vert and Rose, whose real name is Alexandra. And this is the sock. It is this really, really nice 3x1 rib sock with a really beautiful faux cable detail. and the option of a picot edge, which I have chosen to take. And I'm knitting this in leftover Love Stitch fibers in a one-of-a-kind Oopsie colorway, and leftover Emily C. Gillies January Luck of the Draw Yarn Club sock yarn. And I think these are just so darling. I still feel what I feel about test knits that I mentioned in my last video, which is that they're not necessarily like, there are a lot of people who seem to get a lot more out of them than I do. But this one I'm really happy I signed up for, and I totally understand why past me half asleep did sign up for it, because I love a 3x1 rib. I love socks, and a 3x1 rib sock is kind of my ultimate comfort knit, I think, at this point in time. I've knit 4 pairs of them, 3 as gifts, 1 for myself. And I love a picot edge. I knit myself the Better Now beanie by Lily Kate Makes this time last year, which is a picot edge beanie that I think deserves more attention than it gets. And this is a picot edge sock plus 3x1 plus this really cute detail. It was absolutely perfect. I knew I could use this stash yarn for it. You guys know how much I love stash, and I feel like it really showcases the stash yarn, because that was part of the reason why I hadn't used it already. And it's just been so enjoyable to knit. It's really easy to remember, and it has this really beautiful texture that is a lot of fun to knit, and it's the perfect amount of, for me, like easy train or vanilla knitting with just enough interest to keep going. And I love how when it's like, you know, stretched out, how the color melds a whole lot better. And it's super, super comfy and it molds to your foot. So I'm really happy with this. The test, Alex is quite generous, and she gave us 3 weeks just to finish 1 sock, which I really appreciate. And so I would like to do that very soon and give her the feedback, even though the deadline isn't for like another 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks. And then start the next sock. But yeah, this is the Maricia sock by Vert and Rose. She's had a lot of podcasters test various designs for her, but most other people go for her really beautiful sweater and cardigan patterns, one of which I almost applied for, but the beautiful Zosia wrap cardigan, which I think it's so beautiful. It's a really wonderful drop shoulder lace wrap cardigan that I think would be beautiful to wear to a wedding. However, I have no weddings to go to, and like I said, even at that point I was feeling the drop shoulder fatigue, and I knew that A, I didn't have the yarn for it, and B, I didn't have enough time for it. I had too many gift knits on the go, and C, even at that time, I was feeling the drop shoulder fatigue. So I just love her eye for design, though. I really appreciate her brain and her aesthetic, and this sock is quite lovely in my opinion. I did cause some chaos in the group chat. I knit this whole leg, and then at 11:30 at night I reread the pattern, and I mistakenly read the instructions for the foot, where you knit the top half in pattern and the bottom half in plain stockinette, but I didn't see the part where it said foot. I thought it said leg because it was right before bed, and you shouldn't make major decisions at 11:30 at night before bed on a weeknight. And so I said, someone else in the tester chat was like, oh no, I made a mistake and I have to frog all the way back to the cuff. And I said, don't worry, me too. I misread the leg instructions, and I did the whole leg in pattern instead of just doing the front in pattern and the back in stockinette. So then to reassure my fellow tester, then I ripped all the way back to the cuff, started and did another like 2 inches with the back in stockinette and the front in pattern, which admittedly did go pretty quickly. And then I went to bed, and I woke up to all the EU time zone test knitters being like, what? No, it says in the pattern you're supposed to do the whole thing in pattern. What? Did I do it wrong? So caused a little bit of chaos, but my mistake. Oops. Then ripped it back again, and now I'm here. I only have another little bit of the foot to go, and then I'll do the toe. And then I'll see if I have any good concrete feedback to give. I must say, I did make a liar out of myself when I said I wasn't really into test knitting, because I had completely forgotten that I had signed up for this test knit, that I just showed you. And I'm also then, like a week after that, signed up to test knit the Cargill sweater by the Crayabea, which is like a full textured sweater. So yeah, no, I'm gonna be doing 2 test knits in 2022, but I don't have anything to show you for the Cargill. I'm very excited to cast that on as soon as I'm back in Ottawa with my full stash. But in the meantime, those are all the projects I have to show you. I do have some acquisitions. I'm just moving things around to get to them. And this has been a bit of a scattered one, my friends, and I apologize for that. But in terms of acquisitions, really quickly, first thing I got was 3 buttons. These are made out of coconut shell. Button. These are for my field day jacket by Ozetta, which I left in Ottawa, but did actually get some work in on before I left. I am going to knit it to the 3rd buttonhole and then do the bottom and then bind off because I don't want it to be past my butt. I want it to stop at my hips. And that is approximately the length. I'm following what one of the testers did. Beautiful version. And I did 3 buttons. So I went to Yarns Untangled and got these 3 beautiful coconut ones. I had a gift card. So my boyfriend's family in August of last year got me a gift card to Yarns Untangled in Toronto as a congratulations on going to grad school / going away present. And I have resisted using it because I was saving it for special things. And so in, I think, February, I used it to get a gleaner, which was really useful to depill my sweaters. And then I used up the last of that gift card, or the rest of it, to get those buttons. This skein of Trailhead Yarns Appalachian, Trailhead Yarns Appalachian Trail sock yarn in the color Unicorn Tears. And this is a plant-based sock yarn. It's 65% cotton, 35% nylon. It is 300-ish meters for 100 grams, and it is made in Italy and then dyed in Canada. I've been interested in trying this yarn for a while. Emily of High Fiber Knits has knit some beautiful things out of yarns from this company, even if not this base. And Kate of This Orange Couch, who's a plant-based vegan knitter, has also used, I think, this base, but definitely other Trailhead Yarns items. And because I like plant-based garments, like I like plant fiber garments for the summer, and I am in dire need of cotton ankle socks, this really seemed like an appropriate thing. I was speaking to a woman working at Yarns Untangled, who, by the way, was wonderful. The Yarns Untangled, I love their selection. I love their staff. Everyone, they do a very good job of being helpful but not overbearing, super knowledgeable, and their selection is stunning. And I'm really grateful that my boyfriend's family got me a gift card. But I got this, it felt really appropriate, and the woman working told me that she finds it very easy to get 2 full pairs of shorties out of 100-gram skein. And because I have freakishly small feet that stopped growing when I was 10, I'm wondering if I could get 3 pairs out of this. I might have to do contrast toes and heels for the 3rd pair. But if anybody has any recommendations for how you alter a shorty sock in terms of like gauge, stitch count, what you do with it to make it fit in comparison to a wool nylon sock, I am all ears. I'm very nervous about that. But I really want to knit these socks somewhat soon because all of my cotton ankle socks that I use for just walking around in the summer are they've disintegrated. So I should be able to fix that as a knitter, as a dedicated sock knitter. So that's where my gift card, the rest of it went, these buttons and this skein. While I was there, I saw this, which is the final skein of Murmur by Kat's Riverside Studio in their Superwash Merino Nylon sock, which is an 80/20. This was the last skein they had available, and it was staring at me. And I'd been stocking this colorway for a number of weeks, and I kept saying, well, A, I couldn't figure out how to use my gift card online, and I didn't want to call and figure it out. Like, I was just being lazy. And I just kept thinking, like, no, it's not meant to be. Like, what are you going to knit with that? It's beautiful, but that variation, like, it's not going to be pretty in a garment on you. You don't love color that much. And no, you have enough sock yarns. You have enough Kat's Riverside Studio sock yarns. And then it was still there, one lone skein, just waiting for me. And so I picked it up and put it on the cache, and now it's mine. I think that when I bought Hush from the Cat's Riverside Studio, whoa, a massive bird just flew by, and I'm so annoyed that I'm not wearing my glasses and I couldn't see it very clearly. It might have been one of the red-tailed hawks. They live nearby. And sometimes they visit us because of the big tree. But I think when I bought Hush from the trunk show at Wabi Sabi by this dyer right after my birthday in June, I think that when I saw Hush, I thought it was Murmur. I'm happy with both. I don't regret having the Hush, but this just makes me think of mermaids, and I couldn't say no. I'm wondering if I make a ripple bralette out of this, because it would be really beautiful as both a bralette and a top, or I make some Mermaid Avenue socks by Summerly Knits. I don't know. And when I picked up this skein in the single skeins left pile at Yarns Untangled, and I was talking about how much I love Cat's Riverside Studio with the person working, she said she agreed, and that in her opinion, Riverside Studio is a highly underrated yarn because, okay, I do think it was a bird of prey because a whole bunch of birds just flew away. That's so funny. Okay, bird watch with Rachel, it never ends. Because she feels that it's an underrated yarn. She thinks that it's because they don't have a huge social media presence at all, which is, I think, a big thing in promoting hand-dyed yarns these days, and that they stock a lot of beautiful Canadian hand dyers, and they're all gorgeous, but Cat's Riverside Studio is like shockingly and stunningly consistent in between dye lots and between batches of their colorways. And it shows a lot of like technical prowess when it comes to dyeing, but because they're not really on social media, and anyway, but for whatever reason, they just kind of fly under the radar. And I wanted to share that nugget of information with you guys. So I am a big Cat's Riverside Studio fan, and it came uniquely shouted out from the people at Yarns Untangled. So that's a little nugget for you. My final acquisition is arguably the most special. When I say arguably, I mean it absolutely is the most special. It is this. Look at that. So when I was in Knitomatic, because I'm currently on a rampage through the yarn stores of Toronto, picking up this, and I also got another pair of mini circulars for my socks because I am on such a sock kick that I need more needles for them. I noticed in the corner that they had a basket of kind of single skeins and things that I didn't see on the shelves elsewhere. So I bent down, and then there was a big sign that said Red Door Family Shelter on it. So I looked at some of the yarn in there, and it turns out that for years, Knitomatic has been doing yarn swaps, where they host a yarn swap and you bring in stuff that you'd like to destash, and everyone else brings in stuff that they'd like to destash, and you go home with yarn, and then you get rid of yarn. You know what a yarn swap is. But I think while you're there, people have the opportunity to donate yarn, and or any yarn that isn't picked up by other people is then, with permission, collected by Knitomatic and sold there, but all the proceeds go towards the Red Door Family Shelter in Toronto, which is awesome, and it's secondhand yarn, so it's sold at a discounted price. And I checked online, and Red Door Family Shelter has listed Knitomatic as a donor or a sponsor or whatever for many years. So we've been doing this for a while, and I was speaking to the person on staff, and they take donations whenever, but they haven't been able to do a yarn swap in a while because of COVID, and that's why I haven't seen it all the many times I've been in there. And I thought that was just really, really cool, and I thought it was something that'd be lovely to support. But then I was perusing, and they had a lot of really interesting stuff. There was a lot of Shetland yarn, and a lot of yarns where it very clearly came from a small manufacturer and listed the names of the sheep whose fleece went into that skein. And I was perusing all of those, but I was in Knitomatic after already buying these guys, and I was aware of all the yarn that I had at home, and I really was only supposed to be in there to get this and the needles. So I was thinking, you know what, Rachel, practice restraint. And then I saw this guy, which is just truly so stunning. And this is Valentina Colorworks artisanal yarn from Montreal, or artisanal wools. And this is the silky linen base, which is 65% silk, 35% linen. And it's a fingering weight made in Canada in the color Serpentine Stone. This is not a hand dyer or a company I've heard of ever before. And this color is so my mom, it's not even funny. Like, I saw it, and you know, you'd think I would have some self-interest in this and see a stunning skein of linen silk, which is, it's so soft. But really, like, this is destined for my mother. And it really just kind of felt like a win on all fronts. My mom is very wool sensitive, and so it's kind of tricky to pick fibers for her sometimes. But linen and silk, chef's kiss. It's also nice to give people luxury things sometimes. It was at an accessible price point, and probably one of the only times I'm going to be able to, at least for a little while, be able to afford a linen silk blend. It's hand dyed in the most my mom colors ever. And if I'm really careful, I could squeeze a whole garment out of this. So I bought it. It was $15, which I guess is maybe like a little bit more than is normal for secondhand yarn. I actually don't know if that's true. Like, I think it's more than you'd pay for something at a thrift store, but it's maybe less than you'd pay for someone's like Instagram de-stash, and it's a linen silk blend. So, and it's hand dyed, and so I think this is really neat. Feels like a real win. You can kind of see that luster and that shine, and on top of everything else, it's going to a really good cause. It's, you know, those $15 went to a family shelter, which is great. So I'm really pleased about this. I have been sending my mother patterns for her to choose from all week, and it looks like she's settling on camisole number 7 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. However, if you have any other bra-friendly fingering weight tops to send our way, please do. We are taking recommendations. I have already sent her the June top camisole number 6, a whole bunch of others that I'm now blanking on, the Y top by Knitting for Olive. All of those have been vetoed. Current frontrunner is camisole number 7 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which I'm kind of annoyed about because I sent that to her before I realized just how bad My Favorite Things Knitwear's size inclusivity is. And now I'm grumpy. So if anyone else has bra-friendly pattern recommendations for a fingering weight summer top, let me know. We are very interested. And I'm excited to get this caked up and on the needles hopefully soon. I'm really sorry. I really don't think that a fingering weight summer top is going to get done in time for my mom to really enjoy it in the hottest days of the year. However, there's always next summer. And that's everything from me. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm hoping to have all of my whips done by next episode and have a whole new batch of things to show you in the upcoming one. And we'll talk again soon. So, oh my goodness, I've done it again. Podcast recommendations. I always forget. I've collected so many podcast recommendations and then I don't share them. There are a bunch of new podcasts that I've been really enjoying. Number 1, Carsley Handmade. Her name is Carson. She's a new YouTube channel and I've been really enjoying it. I think she has a really natural way of speaking to the camera and she posts very high quality video, which I think is fantastic. She's a knitter down in Texas and she does a lot of really beautiful objects, including good warm weather knits and also baby knits because she's currently expecting her first child, and I just really like her energy. She's both calm and bubbly, and I think what she makes is beautiful. There's also Ira of Kukie Knits, Kukie Knits. Everything will be linked down below. She's a little bit newer, but she has a decent amount of subscribers, so she's not like, I think, you know, secret. She is down in Australia and knits things, like a lot of patterns that I've been interested in but have not cast on myself. And then she's like, oh, and I'm knitting this. And I'm like, okay, good, I'm taking notes because I've been interested in that pattern. And she's really funny. I really like her warmth. and it's fun to see somebody knitting cold weather things as I'm sweltering, so I can live vicariously through her. Number 3, Handmade by Florence. I've been following her on Instagram ever since I found her Everything I Knit in 2021 video, which she posted on another channel around New Year's. She does a lot of really pretty beige, neutral, elegant knits. Florence is based in Cambridge in the UK, and she just started up her own podcast channel, and I'm very excited about it. I think she just posted a new episode that I'm gonna go watch later on, and I think she explains things very well, and I really like her clean, timeless, elegant aesthetic. She does a lot of petite knit, a lot of my favorite things knitwear, a lot of Scandinavian influences. So if you like that kind of thing, check her out. And finally, last but not least, Year of the Knit, Teresa, I don't know how to pronounce Dutch names very well, is a new Dutch knitting YouTuber who does a lot of beautiful, like, I think heavy on the Scandinavian designers, which is such a beautiful, clean, timeless, wonderful aesthetic, much like Handmade by Florence. But Teresa, who's part of Lisa's Knit Club, if you've been watching the updates in Lisa's videos, but Teresa is doing a little bit more of like the knitting YouTube thing. So some podcasts, some like Knit With Me's Knit and Chats, whatever. And I find her videos very fun to watch, and I like seeing other people's new objects, and I think all of these people are very much worth checking out and seeing if any of them vibe with you, because I think we're lucky to have so many other knitters in this community who are willing to share, and I benefit from their content because, like I said, this hobby is slowly taking over my entire personality, and I need to feed that monster. So, podcast recommendations took me forever. If you made it to the end of this video and you saw them, maybe let me know down below, because I feel bad that I always forget to talk about what I've been watching or who I've been watching. But my mom just came home. I want to go chat with her. I hope that you guys are all having a good July, and I will see you again sometime soon.